Yesterday, the legacy media reports indicated that New York Governor Kathy Hochul is injecting more than $1 million into an effort that would enshrine abortion rights in that state's constitution. And according to those reports, the cash infusion is designed to bail out the struggling pro-life or the struggling pro-amendment campaign that they're trying to push forward. And quite frankly, there's a lot of Democrats who are now worried that this could actually impact down ballot elections going forward. So what are we supposed to make of all of this? Is there actually a glimmer of hope taking place in a deep blue state like New York? Well, now with all the latest is Jason McGuire. He's the executive director of New York Families Foundation and New York Families Action. Jason, welcome back to Washington Watch. Good to have you.
Hey, Jody, thank you. It's good to be with you today.
All right, so let's start with the amendment. Probably we have a lot of folks watching and listening right now who are not familiar with what's going on. So tell us a little bit about the amendment. What consequences would it have in your state?
Well, Proposal 1 is a constitutional amendment. It would amend our state constitution. In this case, it would allow abortion as a constitutional right in our state. It's phrased as pregnancy outcomes in Proposal 1, but we all know what that means. And we also would take sexual orientation, gender identity, all of the issues regarding the LGBT agenda, and also elevate that to protected class status in our state. Essentially, it puts the right to an abortion and the LGBT agenda on the same footing as religious liberty in our state constitution. The real question is, what will the New York courts do with that if religious liberty has the same standing as those other so-called rights? Well, I think we all know the answer to that question. That's why it's so dangerous and why we're opposing it here in New York State.
Yeah, that's stunning. So this is not, and I want folks to understand, this is not simply about abortion rights, as they call it. We have a different opinion, but nonetheless, on that issue, it is written so broadly, as you just mentioned. There are multiple problems. Now, is that how it's being perceived by the residents and voters of New York? Do they understand really what this amendment would do?
I think most New Yorkers have no idea that there's even a proposal on the ballot yet. That's the real danger. Once they're educated, they're opposed to it. But the danger right now is people are going to vote for it because they're going to see the phrase the Equality Amendment or the Equal Rights Amendment, and then they're going to assume it's a good thing. I learned a long time ago, though, that the nicer sounding something is in New York State, that whether it's a bill or a proposal, it's probably the worse off we'll be. And this is another example of that.
Yeah, that same principle generally applies in Washington, D.C. as well. So let me ask you, is there an unexpected, at least in your understanding, an unexpected apathy, at least among liberals, to this amendment?
Well, I think one of the things, oddly enough and sadly enough, in our state playing to our favor is it is New York. And so essentially there is virtually unlimited abortion here in our state. It's paid for by the state in many, many cases. And so it does not appear to be in danger. And I think that voters know that, they understand that. And so this is being used as a wedge issue to try to turn out Democratic turnout in congressional races. But as people are looking at issues like the economy and immigration in our state, they know that our state's on the wrong track. And even many people that are middle of the road or a leaning Democrat are just recognizing and seeing it for what it is.
Yeah, and the governor now is coming in with at least $1 million, trying to infuse some energy, excitement, and so forth. I mean, what is causing the concern? Why would the governor be leading this movement? Why does it appear that so many liberals are just not behind this, or at least they're scared? What's behind all this? Is there actually a glimmer of hope taking place in a state like New York?
Well, just remember that 2 years ago, a number of congressional seats were picked up here in New York, and that affected the balance of power in Washington, D.C. Governor Kathy Hochul took a beating for that, for not doing enough, for not stepping up, for a state like New York not delivering for a Democratic majority. And so she doesn't want to be caught in that trap again. Now, bear in mind that the opposition on this issue, those that are pro Proposal 1, those who want the abortion rights and want all of those other things, indicated they would raise $20 million for this race. Now everybody's running scared. The governor's pouring $1 million in. So there certainly is hope if we can raise the funds and get the word out to really turn out the vote on Election Day.
So are they really worried, the National Democratic Party members, are they really worried that this could potentially affect House races in New York? As you mentioned, could this really have some potential national implications if this amendment does not go the way they hope it does?
Well, I argue there would not be a Speaker Mike Johnson were it not for the congressional members here in New York. And if New York does not hang on to or even expand those number of seats here this time, there could be Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, a former New York State Assemblyman from New York, who would like to be the next Nancy Pelosi. That could happen if people are not serious about turning out and voting in November.
So where can people go to stay on top of this issue? If they want to just learn some more, they want to stay on top of it, they want to keep a pulse on it, what can people do?
Well, most importantly, they have to get educated. They have to be informed, then they have to engage. So you visit newyorkfamilies.org. That's New York, and families is plural. Just spell it all out. newyorkfamilies.org, where you can get involved, learn about this issue, find out what the issues are here in New York. And if you subscribe to our email process there, we will keep you informed, tell you what's going on, and you'll be able to vote intelligently when you cast your ballot.
So before I let you go, just real quickly, how is the education process going? You said that is absolutely essential in this whole thing. How is that effort moving forward?
Well, Politico today was running a story indicating that this counteroffensive from the conservative movement, which frankly has not been as well funded as the opposition, is making inroads. As people hear about this issue, when they realize that this could mean, the fact that women's sports will be affected, scholarships will be affected, that biological males will be competing against female athletes in our schools, will be sharing those locker rooms, those restrooms, that's a real concern. And that is waking people up, regardless of party affiliation. That's just something that we want to protect our daughters and our granddaughters. And so it is having an effect. And I think we could see a surprise if we can just engage before the election.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason McGuire from New York Families Foundation. Great information and an honor to bring this to our audience. Have a great weekend, and thank you for joining us again on Washington Watch.
Thanks, Jody.